Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Will here at Schedulefly, and this is our first three-peat. For the third time, we were very lucky and thankful to have Karen Hoskin on here. And this time was really cool because I got to do it in person at Montana Distillery. That place is phenomenal out in Crested Butte, Colorado. And when Karen and I spoke, the last time she was on here was over the summer, and she had just raised a bunch of money from Constellation Brands, and we got into that a little bit, but we talked about so many things, we didn't really get to finish that up, and so we kind of mutually agreed we would have a follow-up. And luckily, I think I had to cancel once or something, and I'm kind of glad because we were going to do that over the phone, but this time I got to be out here in person and stayed with Karen and her awesome husband, Bryce, and just had a great time in Crested Butte, hanging out with them, hanging out in the distillery, sharing a wonderful afternoon of time with Karen, and just a great conversation we had. And then I got to ski Crested Butte the next day, which was cool. But anyway, nevertheless, here's the episode. Check it out. Karen's awesome. We're proud to serve her and her crew, and she's going to keep doing great things. Y'all have a good one. More coming soon. All right, we're going to go ahead and start recording. We're live here. This is freaking awesome. I can't tell y'all how excited I am. Everybody, it's Will here with Schedulefly, and I am not in North Carolina. I'm not in Charlotte. I'm not in Raleigh. I'm in Crested Butte, Colorado, which has been on my bucket list since I was a kid and grew up skiing. But more importantly, I'm here with Karen Hoskin at Montana Distillers, and you were the first three-peat on this podcast.
That's exciting.
Yes, you are. You are the first three-peat, and I'm sure we'll have more, but thank you. This is really cool to get to meet you in person, sitting here at Montana Distillers. I just had some phenomenal food, some really, really good food, some incredible rum, and now I got some tea here, and we're going to hang out and talk. So this is so awesome. I'm really excited about this, and I appreciate you doing this. Yeah, absolutely. Well, last we left off, we got into all kinds of stuff last time, including what we were just talking about. Do you remember do you remember I was telling you I was trying to get my daughter into entrepreneurialism and just kind of, literally over the weekend, I'm going to show it to you in a minute, she painted a horse. She does equestrian, and that was our idea, is to make these hats, and then with her paintings, have them screen printed on the hat, and then sell them to the barns and stuff around where she rides, and just learn how to take a product, buy the product it costs, sell the product, deal with customers,
make some money,
make inventory, make your own money, and feel like this is really cool. I'm going to do more of these and get that, I mean, not that she has to do that one day. She can do what she wants, but she wants to be a vet. But it's kind of cool to get that going.
Absolutely. Well, being a vet is being a business owner usually, too. I mean, it's rare.
Well, it definitely is being a business owner. Yeah. I will. 100%. So, but you are a very successful entrepreneur who has taken this crazy idea to start a rum distillery out here in Crested Butte, Colorado, and turned it into a phenomenal business. And I don't even know where to start, because I had all these things I want to ask you about, but then you just told me that you're buying your building, closing this week.
Yes, Friday,
okay.
1 o'clock. I know, it's made for a whole third full-time job this week, but I'm so glad to be sitting here and not thinking about, documents going to the title company.
Well, okay. Well, I want to get to that, but the big thing that we missed last time that's so important that we touched on, but you raised a bunch of money earlier this year for the distillery, and it was a really big deal, and it was a really big win for you and your team and for female distillers, and we got into a lot of the hurdles and challenges and roadblocks you've had to overcome along the way as a woman in the distilling business, and now there's been this big injection of capital by, which brand was it?
Constellation Brands, or Constellation Brands Ventures. I'm part of their Ventures division, which is the group that makes typically minority investments in smaller craft spirits or craft beer or wine. It's typically been craft spirits so far.
Okay.
And they they kind of bring a strategic partnership to the relationship, which has been amazing.
Okay, and they're like, how much did they set aside for this initiative? Not for
million,
you, but
right?
Yeah,
the whole fund is $100 million.
Okay,
but really, as I've gotten to know them better, the purpose is to demonstrate that the female owners can deliver in every way the same way that the male owners can, so that the disincentive that has existed in the system to invest in female-owned companies goes away. They want to be part of showing the results, showing the metrics, the quantitative measurements of these companies, and maybe we even outperform, or maybe we do better on some things, and that will hopefully start to kick down some of those barriers that have been enormous.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Were you the first recipient of their...
I was the first craft spirit recipient. So there was a company called Hoskin Cocktails that came on before me, and they it's a couple of women who started a very cool canned cocktail company out of Austin, Texas.
Canned cocktail.
But they're not distillers. They are, they are making these really cool cocktails that go into the can that you can get, like, at the baseball field and buy it at the liquor store and take on your river trip or whatever, which is not really what I do. We're much more of a kind of integrated vertical top to bottom. We make it ourselves, we bottle it, and we sell it, but it's usually typically an 80 proof spirit as opposed to a canned cocktail or something like that. Those are called RTD. That's a big growth area, is RTD, ready to drink.
Got it. Okay.
Which I think is kind of funny, because I'm like, what? Mine's not ready to drink?
Yours is ready to drink. I just had 4 different samples neat, and it's very ready to drink. Yeah, it is.
But maybe not for, a 20-year-old. I don't know.
Yeah, so. Okay. Fair enough. Well, okay, so I got it. So they're doing that. And now, what did you raise the money for? I mean, obviously you want to grow, but where are you deploying most of it, and is it ever a certain time frame? Or what's the plan?
So I developed a pretty detailed strategic plan in order to kind of go into this relationship. I wanted to build a sales force. So as you know, because you're sitting in it right now, I have a vibrant bar and restaurant operation that, for a lot of companies, that's their main bread and butter. And I love that part of what I do. And we're we've been lucky enough to be the top rated restaurant in Crested Butte on TripAdvisor for a while now, which I think is funny, because I'm like, food is sort of it's a bit of an afterthought for me personally as the owner, because rum has always been the forethought. But I love having this bar and restaurant operation, but it's a much bigger company than that. My dream and my goal is to sell beautiful premium American rum all over the world. And I'm launching in April in the UK with a new rum-focused distributor over there. So, it's really that all of this takes just this phenomenal amount of time and investment. Nothing happens immediately. It's not like you launch in the UK and suddenly everybody's like, oh, let's go buy Montagna rum. They have to know where, they have to know why. You have to, win the hearts and minds of the customers and all that stuff. So it's a big process. It takes time. But once you do it, it's pretty... you get a lot of loyalty, you get a lot of organic growth. So they're helping me to build all of the parts and pieces of that machine that will bring Montagna rum to the world, essentially.
Okay. So, well, let's take the UK. And you're also you're in Spain, right?
So primarily in France, in a partnership with V&B, which is called, Bien and Bière. It's like wine. It's a wine, typically a wine and beer retailer. They have 180 stores in France, but they also sell high-end craft spirits, and we kind of won the rum category of their American portfolio. Okay.
So, how many American rum distilleries are there?
Well, it's a kind of a complicated question, because there are people who make rum because they're super serious about rum, and then there are people who make rum because they've got whiskey aging in the barrel, but really they're a whiskey distiller and they're not that serious about rum. Or they make a portfolio of everything. So they've got a vodka and a gin and a rum and a whiskey and a rye and a bourbon and a, on and on and on. Maybe they make an absinthe. Maybe they make a, liqueur.
Okay.
We are one of maybe 4 extremely serious rum producers in the U.S.
Really? 4?
Yeah.
That's
and
it.
really, maybe some people would say 2, but
Wow.
I would say, probably more like 4. I mean, there are 2 of us that have a global reach, a global, we want to own a global market.
Yeah.
4 that I would say are just super focused on premium, high-end, beautiful rum.
Okay.
And then there are probably 200 that make a rum.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's something they care about is really the question.
I gotcha. And then are there people that put their label on, they bottle rum that's made somewhere else that don't actually just...
Yes.
And I didn't realize that was such a big thing in the liquor industry.
It's actually an even bigger thing in the world of rum.
Really?
Because there are a lot of companies that buy rum from these beautiful rum producers around the world, and then they, they might blend it. They might blend a Jamaican with a Barbados, or they might just buy Barbados, but they might blend a 12-year with a 7-year or something like that. And, they create a label, a brand, but they didn't actually make it, which, in my mind, that's totally fine. Like, that's great, because sometimes that brings rums to the world or spirits to the world that are hard to find, or, but what I don't love is when people don't tell.
I was just about to say that. As long as you're authentic.
Smoke and mirrors going on.
There's a lot of, I didn't realize this, but I mean, there's a lot of storytelling. I mean, like, storytelling in the sense that, like, the story is not really the real
good
story.
Storytelling, and then
there's authentic storytelling like yours.
Yeah.
And then there's some fairy tales.
Yeah.
It's almost, it seems like. That's unfortunate. As a consumer, that's really disturbing to me. I mean...
Well, and I think back in the, when I first started, it's going to be 12 years in April. When I first started, people didn't even know what questions to ask.
Right.
They were like, wait, they didn't even know about that you could make a craft spirit in Crested Butte, Colorado, or Silverton, Colorado, or Breckenridge, or whatever. So they didn't even know what questions to ask. People have become so savvy, and they now know, like, do you actually distill this, and and where do you distill it? Because the federal government of the United States doesn't make you say on your bottle. You only have to say where it was bottled. And that's something that I think the craft spirits world is working on changing. We'd like people to say, where is this distilled?
You need to, because I heard that you could, like, the people that are distilling it figured this stuff out, and then they start setting up DBAs and the name of the business, so it's, quote, distilled by, when it's just, it's just a scam. I mean, like, you're hoodwinking the consumer.
But some companies have been really called out over the last 4 or 5 years, and sued, and they've been forced to change all their labels on their bottles, and they've had to pay a lot of money for lying.
Good.
So I think that now there are a lot of people who are like, don't do that, because it could get you in a lot of trouble.
Okay. All right. Well, y'all clearly do it all here. In fact, I want to go up. I can't wait to go up and check those things out. So why the UK? I mean, I know you want a global presence, but was there a connection, or was it just...
Someone asked me this question recently. I have a history of working with distributors and partnerships that are as excited about us as we are about them. There's nothing worse than going into a distributor's office and being like, hey, we're Montagna Rum. People really love what we do. Yeah. We'd like to bring, Montagna Rum. I'm going to make a bad example, I'm sure, but, we want to bring Montagna Rum to Nashville, Tennessee. Right. A better example would be New Orleans, Louisiana. and then the distributor's like, wah, wah. You're the 30th person today that wants to bring their super cool craft spirit our way. And you're like, shoot, like it's really hard to get them excited because it's about, programs and the money that's going to line the pockets of their sales reps. And it's really, they don't care that much about you as a craft distiller. So I connected several years ago. Actually, no, it's really just about a little more than a year ago, with a distributor in the UK that is not only really rum focused, but they only really deal in premium rum.
Okay.
And, they'll do all kinds of different rums. Like they have an Italian rum and they have a Cuban spiced rum that is delicious. And they have, all these different rums from all over the world that they're selling exclusively in the UK. And when I met them, first of all, their families go back to India. And that my origin story of rum and Montagna rum is India.
Yeah.
So we immediately had a connection. They're a class act as human beings. They're really good people, but they're really excited about Montagna rum. And so I would much rather do business with them and ship it across the ocean to the UK than do business with a ho-hum wah-wah distributor in, Louisiana.
Gotcha. Makes total sense. Does Constellation help? Do they help get you all connected with good distributors, or how involved are they?
They'll make introductions for sure, but we are not obliged, and they are not obliged to provide any sort of network of distribution for us.
Yeah.
It's the relationship on that is independent, which has been good because I have some small distributors that they might have kicked out the door just being a bigger company. And I have some big companies that they might not naturally be aligned with on their network. So it's allowed me to be a little more decisive about who my partnerships are. But if I go into a new state, they will absolutely make an introduction, say, we think these guys have a really good track record of building brands, something to think about.
Okay. And then, you recently hired a head of sales. Is that right? Did I see that on Instagram?
I
struggle keeping up on Instagram, but I feel like I saw
this
that.
Week.
Okay.
No, you're right on. I've known since December, so I've been mom's the word, trying to make sure that he could tell everybody that needed to know and do the right thing with his current employer. But we just made the formal announcement, and he comes on beginning of April.
And who is he? I saw his picture, but I don't remember his name or his background.
His name's Rob Richardson. He's someone I've worked with for 10 years.
Okay. Robert, congrats.
He started in Colorado as the head of the VP of Artisan Spirits in the Colorado distributor that we work with, Republic National.
Okay.
And then about 6 years ago, he got promoted to Dallas, which is like the biggest blow of my, distilling life, because he was one of the first two people who, I will never forget walking into that corner office in this many million dollar company, millions of dollars of alcohol, beer, wine flowing through this company. And I go and open the floor to ceiling, 25-foot door into the corner office, and here are these two guys. And sadly, Jim Smith passed away a couple years ago. He was one of my first advocates. But I was like, what am I even doing here? I have this janky little Colorado rum brand in the mountains, and they said, yes, we'll distribute for you, which I still look back on that, and I'm like, what? I think they just were like, why not? What's the risk?
Yeah.
How bad could it be?
Yeah.
And that was 10 years ago, and we've grown and grown and grown with them, and they've been really dedicated all these years. So when they promoted Rob to Dallas, which is kind of that's the path you take.
That's where,
I just felt like I lost one of my key allies. And of course, I could have gained a key ally in Texas, but I was much more focused on Colorado. So anyway, to make a long story short, he's 57, took some early retirement, and really wanted to think about what was next. And he's
didn't look 57.
No, he's totally young and fit, and but in the world of what I do, he's like guru, you know.
That's
He's
awesome.
like, he knows everybody. He knows all of the ways that the mechanisms work on the distribution side. He's going to be a game changer for me.
So what? Okay, so he's keep the mic close.
Okay. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Okay, so what does that mean? He's head of sales. Do you have a sales team, or is he? How does that work?
So that is one of the biggest connections with Constellation, is that we have a really cool hybrid sales force forming. So instead
hybrid, your sales force and Constellation's sales force?
It's a shared sales force. So I actually pay, part of the cost of it. The sales force is kind of housed within Constellation Ventures.
Okay.
And I'm able to share with other Constellation Ventures brands, companies.
Okay, because they already have a sales force, and so...
Well, and so I don't have to pay the full cost of one person moving around and all of their expenses and all their parking and all their hotel rooms and all their whatever it happens to be. 5 or 6 of us can share a person. When a buyer sees someone walk through the door, they don't want to talk to every single company who ever made a drop of booze, They would much rather deal with like this person who represents 6 options.
Yeah.
And it may be within those 6 companies, each of them has 4 SKUs like I do. And so by the time they finish that conversation, they might have fit a bunch of different craft spirits categories. But then they also know that there's like some backing, there's some people, feet on the ground, human beings who can support the relationship.
Okay.
So it's a really good model for me to be able to share those resources instead of being on the hook for it. And, it keeps me from having to be supervising a whole sales force all the time, which is a big distraction from where I need to be. So what Rob will do is he is very focused on building the distributor relationships. He knows what distributors want, how we can best support them and help them. And then we'll have these, we'll be building a sales force nationally that I can probably afford for the long term, which is great.
Okay, building a sales force nationally, which means you'll have feet on the ground in big markets.
Right, I already have New York and New Jersey.
How many people do you have in New York and New Jersey?
Just 2 total.
Okay.
1 in each market.
Okay.
But they move around a lot.
Okay.
And then we'll have a person in the next month in Denver, Dallas, San Francisco.
Okay.
And then it'll just continue. Florida, as we grow. I'm taking a pretty measured approach. I'm trying to be really, we've been a mile wide and an inch deep for 10 years where, we have 44 states that we're distributed in, but
44?
Yeah.
Wow.
But could you find it on the shelf of a liquor store that you walked into? Probably not.
Are you in North Carolina?
Have to special order it. No,
we have a weird.
You do. Someone could special order it from North Carolina, but we're not listed. It's a control state. So.
Not only is it a control state, we have 100 counties. Within those 100 counties, we have 172 local ABC boards, and if you want to go sell your stuff there, you got to go to all 172 of them. It's wow.
Well, and it's happened to me where I did that.
That's nuts.
New Hampshire, I went and pitched because I'm from Maine. I
Yeah.
had all these people who were like, "I want to buy your rum. I want to buy your rum," and I went to school in Massachusetts. Same thing, and I was like, "All right, well, I'm going to pick New Hampshire. It's a control state." We got listed, which meant 36 stores with Montagna rum on the shelf.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, they expect you to sell with the velocity of Bacardi or, Grand Marnier or these huge companies. And when you don't, they just kick you back out the door. I knew it was going to happen, but it was kind of an experiment on my part. But there's no point in me going to 172 different boards in the state of North Carolina because those people on the other end of the transaction aren't going to know about us.
Right.
So I'm building it in the more metropolitan centers where people already know about us and they want to know about us, or they want to, there's so many people out there who are like, I just want to be able to buy a bottle. So that's 2020 for me is all about closing that gap, bringing the people together with the bottle of rum that they want to buy in wherever they live.
Do you get is there any way to get demographics of the tourism here and where people are coming from?
Yeah, that was one of the first things we did in our sort of strategic plan was we were looking at who's walking in the door of our distillery and our tasting room, where are they coming from, and we kind of focused back in on those markets because it's a very natural way of marketing. This building that we're sitting in is phenomenal marketing for us, and it's, you know, it doesn't cost us money to do it. I mean, it does, but we make money.
Yeah. Okay, so you do know where they're coming from. I bet there's a decent number of people from North Carolina coming out here.
Yeah, not as much from North Carolina as from Texas, Oklahoma, Denver.
Well, because Texas, I had to fly through Dallas. That's the thing. The direct flight thing's big.
Yep.
We go to Denver and Salt Lake. We direct flights out of Charlotte. So okay. Well, I want to figure out how to get some of your stuff there because it's really good.
Well, and I want to come to Charlotte because one of my best friends lives there.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, make that happen.
I'm gonna.
Heck yeah. Wait, so South Carolina's a control state too, so is Virginia, I think, right? Yeah.
Right, Georgia's not. Georgia's been easier for us. Florida's not. Florida's been easier.
My father-in-law works for a liquor distributor in Georgia. Want to hook up?
We are with National Distributing
That's what
Company
he works
in Georgia. Oh, yeah. So we have a contract with all the states that have either national or Republic National. So I've had good experiences with them, so I'm not looking to kick them out the door.
No, that's who he works with.
But
that's great.
That's perfect. Yeah.
I'll tell him.
Tell him.
It's pretty wild. That's cool. He's been with them a long time.
It's good
really
company.
long time. Yeah. It is good company. I didn't know Georgia. I guess I did know that though because he's told me that. It's weird. I don't understand the whole thing.
I know.
It's like
it's a franchise state, which means that I have to commit to one distributor. We have a mutual commitment. Many states it's sort of like at will. But in a franchise state, you're sort of locked with the distributor you choose. So you want to be really careful from the outset. Make the right call.
Okay. So two other things I want to make sure to hit on, so I'm gonna verbalize these so we don't forget. One is I want to hear about the last on my right, your left. I'll let you. I want you to tell the story of that because that was a big accomplishment for y'all, and that stuff's really good too. But tell me about that particular
rum, which is called Valentia. Valentia in Spanish. So everything. Montaña is Spanish. Oro, Platino, Exclusiva, Valentia. Like, we're deeply inspired by the way they make rum in Central and South America, which is really different from the islands, from Jamaica, from Barbados. It's just a different tradition. We don't use 100% molasses like probably 90-something% of rum distillers. So Valentia is, what it means in Spanish is courage, bravery, grit. I released it in November as sort of my ode to how far women have come in the last decade in the world of craft distilling at every level. So literally from the distilling itself to the bottling crews to, the people moving things around with forklifts and the, shipping and receiving, bartending, owners of restaurants and bars, women getting recognized as capable in every aspect of basically beverage alcohol from top to bottom. When I started almost 12 years ago, not only was there nobody else doing this, no women owned the companies, women were not distilling, there were so few female bartenders, and the ones that were there were really suffering. And I came to recognize that early in my life of I don't want these people to be living this life where they're being sexually harassed. You saw some of that come out in the #MeToo campaigns where these restaurant and bar owners were, they fell from grace because they'd, sexually harassed 19, 20, 25 of their employees over the years. I was actually walking in the door of one of those restaurants when I realized, I think we talked about this. I realized that this is one of those guys that just got, taken down by 19 of his employees that he sexually harassed and followed home in the Uber, and so there was a lot going on. I'll just say that.
Ugh.
So, but if you look at things now, there are a lot more female distillers. There are a lot more female blenders. A lot more owners of the company. I don't think these numbers are big. I think we're talking 7% from what I can assess.
7% of what? 7% of owners?
7% of no, it's less. Distillers of craft spirits in America, it's about 7% women now.
Okay.
But it was coming up from 0. That's a pretty big gain.
Keep
Ownership of these craft spirits businesses, I think, women-led, female-led distilleries are still very rare. I'd say about 2 to 2.5%. Again, these numbers are not as empirical as I would like them to be. And then, restaurant owners, you probably know this, but 7% of restaurants in America are owned by women. Female bartenders are starting to, get the recognition and the leadership roles that they deserve, but that's been a long journey. Creating work environments that are safe and, protection from all of those harassment issues has been a big journey. So I wanted to stop. I wanted to get a little away from the constant narrative of how challenging it's been, because it has been challenging, don't get me wrong, into like a little bit of a narrative of like, let's celebrate what we've achieved. So Valentia is pretty much touched by women all the way through its lifespan. So it's distilled by our female distiller, Renee Newton.
Yeah. Renee was on the podcast.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Awesome.
She's amazing. 4 years ago. And then the whiskey barrel that we finished it in is from Catoctin Creek, which is a female head whiskey distiller named Becky Harris. That's in Virginia.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Yeah, really cool company, worth checking into.
Heck yeah.
And then, our bottling crew we weren't all women, because nothing we do is all women. But we had most of our female employees showed up that day, and we had a big celebration, and we had like 12 of us bottling the rum. And then we just rebottled our second release of it with a lot of our female staff. So, but we so value our male staff too, that we would never say, you can't come because you're a dude,
Yeah.
So, and then, like the Cass, who's behind the bar right now, she's also been our mover and shaker, which means she works the forklift, and she brings the sugarcane into this building, and she takes the rum out to our rack house to age, and she's been a huge part of this. And then, we released it with female bartenders and female bar owners, and so female-owned company, obviously, female-led company. I'm not just like a figurehead. I actually do run the company, as you know.
Yeah, you do.
So, so it's been such a huge celebration, and it sold out so quickly. People were excited. Over the holidays, they gave cases of it to their boards of directors as a celebration of women in the business or whatever. It was just awesome. So it was a very long answer to your question.
No, it's an awesome answer. That's so cool. So you've, in 12 years, come a long way, still a long way to go, but the energy and the vibe and the excitement's going in the right direction. That's going to keep growing. So you're celebrating that a lot now. I mean, you personally have overcome a lot. I mean, you are at the tip of the spear for female-owned distributors, and from talking to you several times over the last few years now, I mean, you have worked tirelessly and passionately and vigorously and intentionally with a very clear objective, Karen, and it's quite impressive. I mean,
well, and one of the things, that I sometimes get a little feedback about, it's like, do we have to talk about, that we're women? Do we have to talk about women? And my feeling has always been that if you don't see women excelling and in an industry, if you don't have good examples or good opportunities for mentorship, or if you don't get to which I didn't have anybody that was female that I looked up to. I had lots of people that I looked up to. None of them were women back, in the early days of the company. And I just thought, God, if I could make it less quiet and less lonely and less sort of a sense of I can't let my guard down for 1 second, because one of the things I said for years when, people would say, you work so hard or whatever, I'm like, if I fail, I basically fail on behalf of my whole gender. You
definitely took a big, there was a lot of responsibility that you took. No doubt about it. Yeah, a lot of pressure.
But in the relationship with Constellation, it's been so fun because they just get so excited about, they work with a lot of really huge companies, some of, Svedka Vodka and High West and, these companies that have huge distribution and they're really much, much bigger than we are. And that's just different. They have Kim Crawford wine. It's rare to get to meet Kim Crawford. But, they're just so psyched to actually be working with these owners and founders who are so deeply invested in their companies and get to share in their success. I think it's a really cool model because awesome. We need their resources and their support and their strategic partnership, and they get to have this kind of exciting, really fun experience with us.
Yes, they do.
And hopefully it pays off for all of us.
It will. And on that note, you on this Friday are buying this building, which is just awesome. I mean, so we're for those, first of all, just check out your website. Is it montagnadistillers.com?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're on Instagram and just check this place out, y'all, if you're listening. Y'all's pictures are it's like a dream. If you like ski towns and in this winter time and it's just a beautiful, scenic, awesome town where you've done a great job preserving your architecture here, surrounded by mountains, beautiful pictures. Every time I see your pictures on Instagram, I'm like, God, that place is it's like heaven. So wonderful place, and you're on the main street here, Elk Avenue. You're right in the middle of it, and you're buying the building. That's so cool.
It's been a huge kind of process over the last year of really knowing that we needed to own this building for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
But not wanting to take a bunch of our cash that we were putting into growth and park it in a piece of real estate, because then we didn't have the cash to grow. And so this is actually being done by a separate partnership that I luckily get to be the majority owner of as well. And I get to make sure that the lease is favorable to our company and all that stuff. But it doesn't have to take up the resources of the company. So it's separate. I brought some investors in for that project. And that was the coolest part, was I went out and I just said to a group of people, a number of different people, I have this opportunity, anybody want in? And they were like,
all local?
A lot of people. Sort of quasi-local. Yeah. One is from Texas, but he has a second home up here. And he's been a huge advocate and supporter of mine for many years. And he's like, yeah, I'll help you buy your building.
Well, when you grow and you start buying these other ones, will you call me?
I'm not buying anymore.
I would have written you a check in a second. Okay.
I might buy. So we have three other locations.
I was going to say, tell me about that, because you obviously are. This is not enough to support. Yeah. So how much is done here, and then what's at the other locations, and how are you set up?
About 2 miles down the road, we have a more classic industrial building. That's our rack house. That's our bottling line. Okay. That's our warehouse.
How many square feet?
And receiving. It's only about 1,800 square feet, but it has vertical. It's high vertical.
Okay.
So we have barrels stacked 5 high out there.
Okay.
And so that's been amazing to have that space. That's where the forklift is. That's where the bigger trucks come and go that we load. We just bought a 500-gallon still that will go there. We just bought a
500-gallon still. Where did you buy a 500-gallon still?
We had it custom made in the U.S. by a company in Portland, Oregon, called Bridgetown, and they are doing, I mean, it's just like the coolest thing because it's to my specs.
Nice.
You know, we have a way that we've made rum for a long time, and we wanted to continue that tradition.
Yeah.
But it didn't exist. Like, we couldn't go out and buy a 500-gallon version of the still. We've been distilling on multiple alembic copper pot stills from Portugal.
Okay.
So we basically hired this company to custom make it for us, and we have a new labeling kind of bottling line where it's more automated and mechanized than it has been in the past. So I was just talking with one of our full-time distillery crew about how cantankerous it's been. We only put it into service last Tuesday for the first time, and it's challenging, but we'll get there. You know, it's a lot of moving parts and a lot of, we're at altitude, so everything's different. Things are drier. Things are pressure in the compressors works differently. And
So you got, so you're there,
and then we have a sort of HQ, which is more office and conference room, and we have, you know, six more administrative staff that are working, more corporate staff working on that side. So really working hard on the, you know, the brand building, the international and national recognition. We plan events. You know, in the next 2 months, I literally zigzag all over this country and overseas, you know, like making some speeches about premium rum and about sugarcane and about, you know, I get to speak at the Global Symposium of the Women of the Vine and Spirits, which is 700 women working in beverage alcohol all coming together.
Really?
It's going to be so cool.
That's very cool.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Dreams coming true, you know. But then also going in, like I go next week to meet with distributors, and so it's a lot of different parts and pieces moving.
How many days do you travel per year?
I sort of estimate that it's about half the time.
Okay.
So, and then there's a piece of that travel that's like me going somewhere personally with my amazing husband, and you know, and my kids live out in California, so just came back from visiting them and going to the beach. And
where are they in California?
They are both in Orange County, south of LA.
Yeah.
One's about to graduate in the School of Business. He's just got a job in the finance world, and the other one's in a film school, and he's an animator, visual effects guy.
I follow him. You told me it's awesome.
Amazing.
Very talented.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're both super talented in their fields. Like my older son is all about like building good data analytics for the finance world, and he's more like a computer guy. So.
Who's he going to work for?
He's working for Pacific Investment Research.
Cool.
Full time. He's already met all his class requirements except one class, so he's working full time already.
Nice.
I know, it's fun.
And your other son, what's his Instagram handle?
Like Wild.
Like Wild, yes.
Yeah, but it's got like some
like
underscores
underscore?
and dot underscore. But Like Wild, it's Will Hoskin.
He's got that like
so talented.
Yeah, it's really
cool. I mean, I
cool.
probably shouldn't say that as his mom, but I feel like I
he's very
had
talented.
nothing to do with it.
He's very talented.
He's got his own
you
little
got
scene.
You got the full-on creative mind going on. Your branding, everything you do, the design is really sharp, really, really sharp. I mean, you and your team, very impressive. Yeah, which is a big part of it. I mean, it presents well. The story. It's that whole. A lot of things you got to get right in this industry.
If I had $100 for everybody who's told me, like, no, not that. Like, nobody cares about sustainability. Nobody cares about women. Nobody cares about, like back in the day when craft cocktails weren't a thing and I started a craft cocktail bar that was just rum. They were like, nobody drinks rum cocktails. Nobody this, nobody that. And if I'd listened to any of them, we would not be here today.
Yeah, you can't because they're going with what they know, and they don't have the vision, right? And they shouldn't. Good, they don't, because that gives you the opportunity, right? Like that's the thing. You have to go. Forging. Yeah. I hear you, but I'm ahead of you. You're just ahead of the curve, right? Like you're there, and they're not there, but you know that they're going to get there eventually. And
well, I figure if I think about it, I'm
you
not
can't,
weird.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. No,
like,
I'm with you.
I'm not sort of an outlier in this world. I figure if I think about it, other people probably think about it too. But, it was a case of survival. Like, there were many, many times over the last 12 years when I thought, it's not going to happen fast enough. People aren't going to care about sustainability soon enough. They're not going to care about women in business soon enough, and they're not going to care about premium rum soon enough.
Well, you can be too ahead of the curve. That's possible. I mean, I know somebody that was a little too far ahead of the curve, probably with organic distilling, and it's hard. I mean, that's really frustrating, especially when you kind of lay the groundwork and then you see somebody else come in and fulfill that vision. So I'm glad you were able to hold on, because that is hard and it's very challenging emotionally, especially because you already have doubters. People go, no, nobody cares about it. And you're like, I know. And then you're like, oh, great. Now, they're going to, that was right, even though I know I'm going to be right. So it's good that you were able to, that's really awesome.
And the big piece of that was like, people were so focused on Caribbean rum. Like, they were like, rum is an island thing. Rum is a beach thing. Like, what the heck are you doing this mountain rum thing? And so I had to spend years telling the story of, no, rum is a mountain thing, and let me tell you about all these rich, beautiful mountain traditions of making rum. And I went and visited a lot of them, and I just about a year ago went to Colombia for the first time, and there's some fascinating craft rum making going on in Medellin, Colombia. And there's just like there has been a long time tradition of using mountain water and sugarcane grown on the base of volcanic craters and things like that in Central and South America. So really inspiring to me.
That's so cool. When you talk about sustainability, what do you mean? I mean, I know what you mean, but like how... Tell me some specific examples of what y'all done, where you were thinking about that before others. And I mean, it reminds me a little bit of Yvon Chouinard at Patagonia.
Oh, he's my hero.
Is he really?
Oh, my
Mine
gosh.
too. But like he went out and figured out organic cotton and all that, like way ahead of everybody else. And
long ago.
Yeah. Have you seen 180 South?
Oh yeah. Oh no. Gone Surfing. Are you talking about? Oh, I guess I read the book. The book is
Let
Them Go Surfing.
My People Go Surfing.
Yeah.
You got to watch 180 South.
Oh,
it's the story about him and the guy from North Face who passed away a few years ago, but they were buddies. Oh, I'll spare you. Go to Netflix or whatever.
Just go watch
180
it.
South. You love it.
Awesome.
But anyway, you remind me very much of
Well, but I mean, between what he and Kim Jordan from like New Belgium have been doing for like Kim Jordan was talking about these things 28 years ago in the beer world.
Okay.
She's New Belgium, which is in Fort Collins, Colorado. Okay. Absolutely groundbreaking in terms of sustainability, and so I would never even pretend that I was at the forefront of this, but I was astounded at how little it was happening in the craft spirits, the growing craft spirits industry. I was like, wait a second, this is like practically a brand new business.
Yeah.
And people aren't thinking about this, and it's pretty impactful. And then I started looking at rum distillers around the world and in some of these other places, and I was like, oh my God, it's like awful. It's not just not sustainable, it's like
what's not like what's happening that's not sustainable? I don't understand.
Pumping. So like pumping distilling leavings into the ocean or into fields on small islands and getting shut down by the EPA.
So your waste products just not being well taken care of.
Yeah,
okay, got it.
Overuse of water, sending water generally back into the stream, the stream flow dirtier than it came in.
Okay.
Glass is like this incredibly impactful industry, and nobody talks about glass in the spirits world. But like, if you have your glass made in China and it's coming, it's coming on huge container ships, like it's having a massive impact on energy, water, air pollution.
Got it. Okay, so like, where's your glass made?
So we get cradle to cradle certified glass. Our glass is actually made, it's made in a lot of different places. The U.S., Colombia, some of our glass has been made in Mexico, but we've phased that out now. and it's cradle to cradle certified, which is one of the most rigorous things that you can get access.
What does that mean?
It means that they've looked at the supply chain into the making of the glass and then out of the making of the glass. And so the impacts on the communities around the glass factories, inflow of water, outflow of water, 1,000 different metrics that they're looking at in production.
Okay.
It's my glass company was the first company ever to be cradle to cradle certified for a beverage glass package. They're absolutely at the cutting edge of it.
Did you find them? Did you talk them into it?
I don't know if I talked them into it, but I definitely feel like they are ramping up their sustainability, in part because they see how much it matters to me and some of their new customers. But your real question was like, what am I doing? And I would basically say everything.
Yeah.
Not that I am doing everything that can be done, but that if I'm doing it, I'm assessing it and taking care of it from a sustainability perspective. And that, we were talking about swag, about merch. Like every single piece of merch that I sell has been vetted for its environmental impact. So, we on our website we talk a lot about like our T-shirts and where do they come from and how far did they have to travel compared to maybe a normal T-shirt. Our hats, our flasks, our glass, everything. But that's just like one small thing. It has to do with the fact that we're 100% wind powered. We offset or absorb more than 100% of the carbon that we emit.
You're 100% wind powered? Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah. We're in a partnership on that, so we don't have the turbines, but they're all Colorado-based turbines, and we don't bring in any coal or natural gas-fired electricity for anything we do.
Okay.
Yeah. And, it literally affects every single purchasing decision that we make. Where our foods come from, we work with a lot of local farms. Our sugarcane relationship is with families in Louisiana that are growing non-GMO sugarcane, not field burning. It's not human harvested, it's machine harvested. It's their whole mill operation is biomass operated. It goes deep. Because I know a lot of companies, they throw a solar panel up on a roof and they're like, woohoo, we're green, we're sustainable, or like a beehive somewhere. And it's like, no, I'm sorry, it's just not how it is. And I'm not trying to be condescending or.
No, I see what you're saying.
It's not how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, you're at a very deep level with that. It's
So we became a certified B Corp, which is, I think, the gold standard of third-party certification of all of our claims of environmental, social, philanthropy, everything we do to kind of be good stewards. So we became a B Corp, and then in 2019 we were honored as a Best for the World company, which means that of all the markers of a B Corp, all the hundreds of different things that you do as a B Corp to be sustainable, we ranked in the top 10% worldwide. So we were like not just in the zone, but like we crushed the zone. So that was really exciting to me because our B Corp score is 119.
Okay.
We're one of only 3 distilleries that have the certification. We're the only rum distillery that has the certification. But average score for a B Corp is about an 85, something like that. And so, we are outperforming other certified B Corps. So, and that's what I've started to compare myself to is like the Patagonias of the world.
Yeah,
I got to hear the CEO of Patagonia speak at the B Corp conference in LA this year. Wow. And I just literally wanted to follow her around like a fangirl. She's just she blew my mind what she said. Everything she said just rocked
What's
my
her
world.
name?
I can't remember her last name, but Rose is her first name.
I'll check her out.
Begins with an M, I think.
I love Patty. Where's my... Oh, I got my jacket under here. Yeah, I love their stuff. And that's the thing, see, because what happens is, which I believe this, is that you get people that they... the people that care about that that care about your story, when they hear that story, as when I didn't really know the Patagonia story until 10 years ago, and I saw this speech that Vaughn gave called "The Education of a Reluctant Businessman." Have you seen that on YouTube?
Yeah.
And it blew me away. I was like, that's the coolest way that I've ever heard to run a business.
Think about it, right?
But it's so wise too, because you're putting purpose first, and the profit just becomes the byproduct. It follows, because you wind up building. It's like the difference between focus on stuff that you can measure. I get into this a lot, like things you can measure that are black and white. Like I can measure my revenue and my profit and all this kind of stuff. But what I can't measure is like the way I make people feel.
Right.
And when you make people feel a certain way, they sit there and gush on a podcast, about your brand. They, buy your stuff, and then they will only buy your stuff. I literally yesterday, I was freaking out because I couldn't find my Patagonia rain jacket, windbreaker, whatever I used to ski tomorrow. And I had another one. Lauren, my wife, was like, "Why not that one?" I was like, "Because it's not Patagonia. I want my Patagonia." It matters to me.
No, it does matter.
So what you get this core audience of people that really, really care, and then they become your advocates, your ambassadors, your sort of de facto sales force, if you will, that go out there and then they tell other people about how great your brand is, and they sell for you, and then they sell your story, and your story resonates now, not only because they're hearing it from you, but they're also hearing it from your customers. They're like, "Let me tell you about Montana. Here's how they do things." And
one of the coolest things about listening to Rose speak was she spent the first 20 or 30 minutes of her speech just listing the various, kind of like I just did, like, this is what we do.
Yeah.
And that list was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But then she sort of at the end, she's like, and, our profits are up 64% in the last 2 years. And she was saying we are advocating for elected officials that are advocating for, land preservation in Utah. Like, those are the kinds of things I've been told ever since I started a business. Like, no, you do not affiliate yourself with a candidate. You might advocate for an issue,
right.
Or you might say, we are in, we care about this, but you don't then contribute to the campaign. If you're a small craft company, or if you're a local company, or if you have, like I do, like a huge population of people coming from out of town, out of state to come and support you. And Patagonia's like, yeah, whatever.
Well, the reason being that the theory being that you're going to alienate a lot of people that don't agree politically, but you'll galvanize your people that do.
And so I've always known, like, I'm already super niche, I'm making rum in the mountains of Colorado. I'm, early in the day, I was making craft cocktails with rum when people were like, nobody does that.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? So what the heck? It's just one more niche, way that I exist, where I'm just going to be okay with saying sustainability matters to us, and, politicians that advocate for sustainability in business matter to us, and I'm just not going to apologize. I've stopped apologizing for a lot of things that...
Good.
I stopped apologizing for, being a woman, and trying to get credibility. I was like, I'm just going to assume I have it.
Well, you should. And, and what's great is that the more business does draw a line in the sand and draws bright lines around what they believe in, it brings all the more people in that didn't know. Right. Mm-hmm. I think it's a very wise way to run a business. I mean, it really, you build this more and more loyal, outspoken group of brand followers who love.
Yeah.
They don't just. And I say that. I mean, it's what we, at our small level with our small company, try to do too. I don't. We're not here. We don't want to just be we just pay them $40 a month to use your scheduling software. We want to have something that's more meaningful to the people we serve. That's why we're sitting here right now.
We're sitting here, yeah.
Okay. So I was telling you, I got to do some FaceTime math homework, I think. Let me see if I'm still on track here. We may have to wrap up. Let's see here. FaceTime it. Yep. Okay. All right. Yep.
That's okay.
Well, we got an hour in. That was good.
It was good.
That's good stuff. I mean, we could talk for 4 hours, to be honest with you, Karen. I could talk to you all night. Okay, well, then we'll wrap. And thanks again. Like I said,
my pleasure.
First one on here 3 times. We've done close to 200 episodes. I've had some folks on twice.
Well, and I know it's probably sounds like I'm just making a shameless plug, but we couldn't exist without ScheduleFly. We live for it, and we're sitting here in the space where I have 31 employees, who interact with an app, and it's just like makes life possible. So it goes both ways. A lot of mutual respect.
Love it. Folks, that is a wrap. This place is awesome. Okay, so what do folks do? You're in all these 40 some odd states, whatever. If it's not in their liquor, like how do we get Montana rum?
They should go on our website and click the link to find the rum.
Okay.
And we try to give as much information as we legally can. There are some crazy weird rules about what we can say and not say.
Yeah.
And we try to do a really good job of making it available, at least mailing into states that don't have distribution, and then giving good information about our distributors so people can say at their local liquor store, like, they're distributed by, National Distributing Company in Georgia, or, Young's Market in California. So that's who you need to call to get it, and I'm going to come back next week and see if you did. That's how we've grown.
All right.
It's a little bit, it's a lot to expect of our customers, but they do it.
That's awesome.
Great.
Get some, y'all. It is this. It's this combination of authenticity, love, passion, really clean Colorado water. That stuff is good. It's crisp. It's clean. It's awesome. That's a wrap, y'all. More coming soon. I'm gonna hit the slopes tomorrow, and I hope I don't break a leg. All right. See y'all.